Hey everyone, Ken Coscia here. So glad you're here, because in today's video I want to talk to you about how you can change, transform, manage the feelings of upset, anger, resentment, disappointment. Those inevitable feelings we have from time to time in our life, and change them into a learning experience, into a win for you, into something you can benefit from. Too often these feelings of disappointment, anger, upset, dealing with, the turkeys in our life, the things about life that we don't like, the intensity of, those difficulties, they can become toxic. And those toxic emotions can weaken our immune system, cause us to become sick, ill. It's perhaps the leading cause of illness today, let alone we don't think clearly. When we're feeling angry, when we're feeling upset, it doesn't do us any good to worry, does it? It doesn't do us any good to complain. It just seems to get worse. In fact, according to neuroscience, feelings of anger just become more anger. And the worst part is it puts us into a state of stress, and then it blocks the flow of intuition, it blocks the flow state, it blocks us from thinking clearly, making good decisions. Have you been there? Can you relate? Too often we've all been there, haven't we? So what I want to teach you is a tool that I've used in my own life, and I teach it in my Silva Method immersion of life and intuition system, and especially in the Silva Mastery, which is for graduates of the program. It's a very powerful tool. It's simple, straightforward, and yet very powerful to help you transform those toxic emotions, stop being victimized by them, stop letting them get the best of you, into healing emotions, into something that we can learn from and benefit from. And let me just say, before I go into these 6 steps, it's not always easy, and I don't mean to minimize it, because let's face it, we've all have challenges, and sometimes we just have to embrace the challenge, honor the struggle. It goes with life. In fact, if we're truly growing and making progress, we're bound to feel some inner turmoil, some inner discomfort, some struggle. So it's my hope, my intention that these 6 steps, when you implement them, you can benefit somehow and transform them into a win for yourself. So let's take a look. First of all, the 6 steps, I would say number 1 would be acknowledge. Acknowledge the circumstances. Acknowledge the current reality. Acknowledge the way things have been up to now. And notice the language. Have been up to now, which puts it in the past tense. This is so vitally important. We all know, we've all been there and done that about thinking positive. Well, thinking positive doesn't work if that's all we're doing is thinking it and not acting, not living it. And it's not. In order to be more positive, in order to be more successful, in order to be a high performer, in order to transform those toxic emotions, we need to first what? Identify what's behind it. We need to identify the cause. We need to take responsibility for it. So first step is acknowledge. Second step would be self-awareness. And what I mean by self-awareness is very simply, what can we learn from it? Ask some questions. So write this down, please. Make sure and go back to the video and review it. By self-awareness, the question is, when you're feeling an upset, a disappointment, someone or something has angered you, or you're feeling trapped or victimized, ask, what can I learn from this? Does this mean anything to me? And then a few slow, deep breaths and allow thoughts, ideas. And often what you'll find is there's an upset behind the upset. A simple one. Often cravings for chocolate, cravings for sweets are not in and of themselves the challenge. It's what's behind the craving. If we understood what's triggering the craving, the feelings of loss, the feelings of upset, whatever it might be, then we can get a handle on it. So sometimes when somebody has angered us or disappointed or feeling resentment, it might have plugged us into feelings of not good enough. Feelings of, woe is me, or should have been me, or whatever the expression might be. So by asking, what can I learn from this? Reflecting on it. Or does this mean anything to me? Often you'll be pleasantly surprised. Ideas, thoughts. So self-awareness, as you know, is the beginning of taking responsibility for our lives. Self-awareness is all about understanding what's behind, what's making us feel what we're feeling, what's the cause. That leads us to number 3. And number 3 would be you want to rewire your brain. You want to create what? New neural pathways. You want to fire and wire a new neural pathway. So often it seems like we get stuck into old patterns, old behaviors, the way things have been for 10, 20, 30, 40 or more years. And it's not just going to go away. And I want to say that I want to honor you and say, honor your own struggle and recognize you're not alone. We all have these patterns of behavior that no longer serve our highest good. And sometimes we feel stuck, we feel trapped in these old patterns of behavior because you got to remember, they've been there for how long? They've been reinforced for how long? A long time. And they're not just, poof, going to go away like that. So this is the most important part, you might say, is this is where we're rewiring our brain, where you want to reframe. You want to look for that, what can I learn from this? Maybe there's a hidden blessing in the upset. Someone's been laid off from work. Someone's lost their job. Often they look back and say, God, I never would have found my purpose. I never would have found this incredible business that I'm now involved in if they had not given me this opportunity to start searching for it. So there's always a lesson, always something. Or to reframe it, to look for, yes, the lesson or the polar opposite. If you're a Silva Method practitioner, you remember we teach this in the Silva class, mirror the mind. It's probably the most copied technique and tool that Mr. Silva developed way back when, where you can use creative visualization, a few slow deep breaths, relax, and you're acknowledging the way things have been, and then asking questions, what can I learn from it? And you want to end up with what? An ideal end result, your best self, your ideal image, the situation, the way you'd prefer to be. That's what I mean by, it's not just reframe, because reframing often is a cognitive, intellectual shifting. This is something that you want to do while in a deep state of relaxation, in your meditation, at your alpha level that you've learned in the Silva program, or whatever tool you're using. Because change happens from within, not outside, not intellectually. That's why too often people attend programs, read books, and they're disappointed because same old keeps happening. So that's the fun part, where you're managing your energy. The next part would be what I'll call step number 4. You want to appreciate any progress. I really like Napoleon Hill. Remember Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich? He defined success as what? The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You've made some progress. So sometimes it's itty-bitty progress. Sometimes it's huge. Regardless of what the progress is that you've made, feel gratitude. Thank God. Thank the universe. Thank nature. Thank your mom. Thank whoever, whatever. But to feel. In fact, I recommend and want you to start on a daily basis. Great way to begin your meditation. While you're in your meditative state, just first feel some appreciation. Anyone, anything in your life that you're happy is in your life. It gets you into a state of flow. It gets you into a state of what feels like a state of grace that will help you to navigate life and the inevitable challenges with more grace and ease. So appreciate, be thankful, express the gratitude, and if it's other people involved and they're accessible to you, thank them. Send them an email, send them a text, give them a phone call, or whatever is appropriate. Always honor that. The next step, number 5, would be you want to future pace it or future self it. Meaning, what is your ideal self? We've come to understand through science, through neuroscience, that one of the most important attitudes, one of the most important feelings, if not the most important, to nurture the brain, to build on neuroplasticity, to help us feel is what? Faith, hope, or meaning faith, having the faith that somehow, some way you can figure things out. Having the faith, the confidence in yourself that it might take me 100 years, it might take me 10 minutes, but somehow, some way we're going to figure this out. That's faith. And when we have faith, when we have hope, we're more likely to take action. You're more likely to do what it's going to take. You're more likely to be open to ideas, to listen. And it becomes your intention. And when you're clear about your intention, you're more likely to recognize the opportunities that have been there all along. But when we're stressed out, we don't recognize them. So here's a fun exercise that you can add to this at any time, even by itself. It's just spend time. A few slow, deep breaths. Or if you're a Silva Method practitioner, you've got some great skills that we taught you over 4 days, building out. And enter your alpha state, enter your quiet, relaxed state. And just fantasize, imagine your ideal life, your ideal self, your best self emerging. And be specific, whether it be in your relationships with a loved one, with your children, with a coworker, with a business associate, with anyone you care about. Your ideal self and your ideal interaction in your golf game, in sports, in working with your clients. Get the idea? Very important step, because when you feel hope, you've got everything. You're more likely then to learn and to grow. And then last, number 6. So you're future selfing it, and then you're what? You're also congratulating yourself. Yay! Even if it's just a little bit of progress. And then you want to let it go. You want to release it. Release it to the universe. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean you stop making an effort. It depends. It's you got to show up first, and then consistent application, consistent effort. What you want to be careful about, and why this is so important, is it's been my experience. Those of you who know me in my work with the Silva Method, I'm the lead instructor and the training director for them. I've been doing this work over 48 years now. I've traveled all over the world. I've worked with a couple 100,000 people in live trainings. That's me, not with help, one-on-one, small groups, large groups. And a challenge is, no matter how powerful the self-improvement tool is, the personal development tool is that you're using, if you become obsessive, it doesn't work, because it produces feelings of anxiety and stress. And when the stress levels increase, when the stress hormones increase in the body, you go into survival, primitive brain, and you don't think clearly, and you block. It's a leading cause of blocking intuition, of blocking innovative ideas, of blocking inspiration. So it's a delicate balance between being passionate, being consistent and persistent, and being obsessive. You get the idea? So there comes a point where you got to just kind of let it go and allow it to take root, allow the energy to take root, so to speak, to allow the work, the aspiration, your goal to manifest. And one last, I'll call it a bonus idea. When you're doing your personal development techniques, working with your self-improvement, whether it be a Silva Method technique or whatever you might be employing, and you're doing what's called the change work, which is what? Step number 3, the change work, the reframing, the reprogramming, the rewiring of your nervous system. As you do that, always finish with an attitude, a sincere, honest expression of, write this down, may the best for all involved occur. May the best for all involved occur. Very important, because we don't have all the answers. And we're not trying to play God. We're just doing the best we know how to do with what we have. So give yourself permission not to be perfect. Give yourself permission to make sometimes slow but steady progress. Sometimes it's fast. Regardless, feel good about it, congratulate yourself, and keep that attitude. So let's just wrap up now in a quick review. To transform those emotions, those feelings of disappointment, upset, which can become toxic, into a healing emotion, into an emotion that will serve you and help you to grow and prosper and thrive. Step number 1, you want to acknowledge the current reality, the way things have been up to now. Own it. Be responsible for it. But don't wallow in it and avoid getting stuck in it. 2, Learn from it what you can. Ask questions. What can I learn from this? Or does this mean anything to me? And gain whatever insights you can that gives you a handle on, and you'll be more likely, when you identify what's behind the upset, you're more likely to be able to eliminate it. Number 3 is the change work. Number 3, third step, is the change work. The reprogramming, the re-educating of your nervous system, of your brain, the rewiring. Call it what you will. Use mirror of the mind. Use your creative visualization. Do some mental rehearsal. And step number 4, congratulate yourself. Appreciate any success you've made. Yes! Feel gratitude, even if it's just a little bit. 5, continue that congratulating yourself as you what? Future self. Imagine your future, a day, a week, months from now, years from now, and you're continuing to progress. You're continuing to get better and better every day and in every way. And you're imagining your ideal self. Then 6th step, stop worrying about it, stop obsessing over it, let it go. So just like watering your plants, you give just enough water to nurture it, but you don't stand there all day pouring the water because you'll drown it and nothing will happen. And last, may the best for all involved occur. May the best for all involved occur. Allow that to be your personal philosophy, and hang in there, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And if you find this of help, and as you do, I'd love to hear from you. Please make some comments below wherever it's appropriate, wherever you can. And perhaps you know somebody who could benefit from this message, from this tool. Please share it with them. That'd be great. I'd so appreciate that. And thank you in advance. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day. Until the next time.